Bro, I can't believe you. This motherfucker, I'm on a show last night, on stage, telling jokes with my fucking set list on my phone, and this dickhead's gonna text me while I'm on stage, get off the stage, you suck.
That's great.
Yeah. I was like, note to self, write the set list on paper from now on.
So at this one Clash of the Comics, I just went out to the Funny Bone too. I wasn't on it, and I went out to support Blevins, and he won't care if I tell you. So.
Okay, sorry, I was just testing the mic a little bit. We're doing good though, so keep on.
So he had a little situation on the way out of Nebraska City, basically sharded himself. So like he told the whole story, and there was a story to it, and he turned around and got changed, blah blah blah, right? And me and David Kalsgaard and someone else, we were cracking up, and I don't remember. He asked us if he should run that, and I said, "Yeah, you should run." Like run that. It wasn't a good idea. You just run your material at the Clash. Okay, like run your plan, man.
Yeah, don't listen to me, bro.
He went ahead and told the shit story, and I'm like, I had nothing invested in this Clash,
You know what would have been way funnier is if he had just done the story with the shit still in his pants and just ran his set. Everybody's just like, what smells like shit?
Yeah, come in.
Just sliding down his legs as he walks out.
What smells like shit? A dedicated comedian. That's what.
Dude. Well, I think you know what. I think that's a perfect note to start on. We'll do a little bit of an intro. Welcome back, everybody listening and whoever's watching, to another episode of Making Light with Brent and Noe. On this episode, a very special episode, because we got a very good guest with us today. A good friend of ours, Tony Geist. Introduce yourself, brother.
I'm Tony Geist.
Good enough. No, but that's funny, man. That story you're talking about Matt Blevins. Matt Blevins is also, for those who don't know, a local comic. He was a local comic here from Nebraska City, but really in the whole area, region, really. Mm-hmm. He was successful, unlike us. And he is now in Nashville. He's already there, right? He's like established there, living there now.
Yeah. He's done one mic, but he's there.
Let me take back that successful part. No, I'm joking.
No, he's getting all set up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's your plans, man? I mean, we can hop right into it if you'd like, or we can talk about something else, but I know you've got some pretty big plans coming up.
So I've got some leads on jobs down there, day jobs, and then I plan to pursue comedy and network the region, hopefully. And
nice.
Matt and his wife are being super cool and helping me out, like while I jump in this adventure too. And once I get established with the job and whatnot, I'll find an apartment and take off.
Make it big. Yeah. And make it.
Yeah. Just remember us little people when you get big and famous in Nashville.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I'll remember you, but I mean, I'll be kicking it. No,
those idiots that used to tell jokes.
Yeah, they all think about you from time to time.
I'll remember you more when I'm like
talk or anything
in a pay-by-the-hour hotel crying as a road comic or something. I don't know what I'm in. I just know it's time for something else.
It's an exciting new adventure. It's awesome.
For sure. It's like a whole journey too. I mean, it takes kind of a little bit of like faith in yourself, you know what I mean? Kind of like betting on yourself that you're going to be able to do it too, to make that move, right?
Yeah, for sure. But and I was telling someone the other day, like, if at a year, I'm giving it a year, like that's reasonable. And if at a year I love it, I'll keep staying there. But I'm kind of at the point where I'm at in life. I might jump cities for a while,
Yeah, well, why not? Too?
Right.
Try other markets, Like,
and that's a good way to make connections with people too. At least, especially in what we're doing. Last night we were talking to one of the comics from Lincoln, and that's what he was saying he likes to do. Like, even though I'm located in one area, it's like I love to travel and hit cities and little towns that also want to laugh. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a good idea, man. I'm excited for you. It's gonna be
some of my funnest the most fun I've had in this region even were like little shows in rural or whatever areas sometimes, stuff like that too, in Atlantic, Iowa, we did a show that was really fun. Me and Don Seeger and Mark Sibbett a few years ago.
Nice. Yeah, it's exciting. Brent and I and a couple other people got a show coming up tomorrow, actually, in Malvern, Iowa. And I'm pretty excited for it. At first, when I first heard about it, I was excited, obviously, still. But it was like, I was like, man, Malvern, Iowa. Like, there's 7 people live there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how the show's going to go. But I'm pretty excited for it now. At this point, I'm excited to do it. So, yeah, those are the ones I'm excited about. But how long have you been doing comedy, like, altogether?
I think I pinpointed it to about 8 years total with a 5-year break after a year and a half in there.
So
then if you count in a little break for the pandemic and stuff.
Right. So you did a year and a half straight, and then took a break for 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't really a break. It was I couldn't get over a breakup, and
It wasn't a break.
I make jokes about it on stage, and so I went off and got the big boy job, and
Gotcha.
I had these ideas about being an adult that I don't necessarily believe.
Yeah, fuck
5
that.
years later, I'm like, I need to go back to comedy.
Yeah.
And
tired
just
of all this responsibility.
well, no, I figured out I've never really defined myself by my job, but I try to define myself as being a responsible adult, even though I'm still learning even at 50 years old.
Right. No, for sure. Yeah, man, that's crazy. So 8 years total.
How old were you when you first jumped on stage?
So it would have been about this time of year. So February of 2009. So
Okay.
just before I turned 37 years old.
Why? Like, what made you? You're 37. Like, what made you jump on stage and get into it?
My brother and I had written an entire movie script together, and I always was interested in writing comedy and stuff like that too. And I've always been kind of creative, and I had piles of unfinished stories and all kinds of stuff, and then I think I was just playing around on the internet, and then I saw this open mic, and it said comedy, music, poetry, right? Like this ad. This is like MySpace days, right?
Right.
This is 2009. And I told my brother, I'm like, I'm going to try stand-up. I'm just like, it just made sense to me, kind of. Like, why haven't I ever tried it? And so I went and tried it. And told a story about accidentally eating my own cum. That was the first, standard issue dick joke, right? For your first
untapped
joke.
market.
Yeah. So, story about how I was backed up for a few days and came home and
Released it.
I think I did that at
Released the white
Dublin.
devil.
I think
I was gonna say
Yeah.
I've heard this bit and I liked it then too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it was crushing. I'm sitting there and I was nervous and shaking voice, and I'm like sitting there going, I can't believe I'm saying this on the stage right now, But
Yeah. So did you know you got off stage and you were like, this is
Oh,
is,
yeah.
immediately, right?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that again, and then you start getting your spirit crushed for a while.
It's like, free attention. This is all about. This is what I'm all about.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. That's awesome. For me, it was an interesting thing you mentioned. Matt Blevins, the first mic I ever went to, Matt Blevins was at. It was at Dubliner, and he was guest hosting.
Okay.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, and then he actually invited me that night. After I went up, he actually said some really stuff to me that came to be really true, which was he told me, he's like, he asked me, is it your first time? I was like, yeah. And he was like, how long have you been preparing, this and that, and then he was like, okay, well, when you get up there, he's like, as soon as you get off stage, you'll know if this is for you or not. He's like, you'll know if you like it or not. And then he was 100% true. Like, I got off stage and I was like, yeah, that red bearded guy was right.
Yeah.
And then he invited me to do another open mic that same night. So it was pretty exciting. It was fun.
Yeah, I always tell you that 5 years that I quit or whatever, I had the itch the whole time. I'm like,
Wanted to get back up on stage.
Yeah, but it was this, I overanalyze myself. I've gotten better about not doing that, and so, as we do, I got pretty obsessive during even that first year and a half on chasing what I could, as far as being on the mic, and I did punk rock shows, I've told you guys, and stuff, and stuff like that, and became kind of known around the punk rock scene a little bit, and and I was also, I have a history of substance abuse and being in 12-step programs, and I was like, boy, I'm really chasing this like an addict, and like I have no balance in my life. All this bullshit. Just like live your life, man. Just
so you were applying those like ideals of what to avoid to your comedy.
Yeah, it's like if you want comedy, go at it. Go after it. It makes me happy, right? You know, so why am I, overthinking what's an adult?
That's wild.
I had to redefine, you know how it is. Like, you grow up in
for sure.
Midwest, especially. I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe it's anywhere, but
Yeah,
I mean, here
exactly
for sure though. It's very like I've learned that as well. People, it's almost unheard of. I don't know if you guys have run into that, but I try to not talk about doing comedy to people just because it always brings up, tell me a joke. Like, suck a dick. No, but like, but
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into that type of thing, but it always, whenever I end up mentioning it, if I do bring it up, people are very surprised. They're like, "Oh, really? Comedy? Like, where do you do that at?" And they're it's strange for it to be that way, considering how big the scene is here. Yeah. Like, obviously, this is not the biggest town in the world, but for what it is, it's a good-sized scene, and there's a lot of people. Like, if you even look at that Facebook group, there's like 2,000 people in that group. Granted, they're not all from here,
right?
But there's a lot of people that, the comedy scene is decently big in this area. So when people, it being the Midwest town still, I feel like people are not used to the idea of just stand-up comedy. It's not like the biggest thing, you know what I mean? Or in like bigger metropolitan cities, I feel like in New York and places like that, there's comedy, there's sold out shows of comedy every night of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. I wanted to have you on not only because you're going away, but because I think you have a lot to offer as far as knowledge to anybody wanting to do comedy and people who are already doing it, like myself and Brent. And that's why I wanted to ask you, one of the things I'm curious about, like, as far as your comedy career and like your experience doing it, is there anything specifically that you regret or that you wish you had done differently? I know you mentioned that like hiatus you had, but maybe that or something else.
Well, I mean, if I really dug in, there's probably some sets that I would, but I don't. I mean, honestly, I don't regret any of it because that's how like you learn and become more who you are,
right.
If that makes sense. And I'm still like in the process of finding my comedy voice, but,
right? And that's your path too, like that way you did it. Yep.
Yeah. So during the pandemic. Especially during like the first part, like the 2020 stuff. I mean, I hung back. I did the quarantine at home, and then like very select about who I socialized with and stuff, and family and friends and stuff.
Pussy, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's all up in the air, but
no, we didn't know anything. Also at that point in time, nobody knew anything.
Yeah, so. Being a bachelor that lives by myself, got a lot of time like to again overanalyze the stuff. But I'll tell you what, once I got that vax, I got the Johnson & Johnson in April of 21, right? And a couple of weeks later, I think, hit my first mic. I had all this like, I just came out swinging. My first set at Gate 10, I came out freaking swinging with just, blah, here's my past, because I still like there's stuff I'm still kind of like, even though I feel like I've worked through it in 12-step programs, that kind of stuff, just still like, and then it's got the makings though of funny, you know what I mean? It's got those stories, like if you just get real on stage, and and Regan tells me this all the time, just tell those stories, man. Do it. I'll get people laughing off stage. It's a weird thing, and I even have a joke about like, how do you translate those times when you're hanging out by the campfire or with your friends and family and you get them laughing? How do you translate that to stage? But you can do it. You just got to work it and polish it.
You can do it, but I think the ability to do that is what differentiates the average person from the person who can get on stage, right? Because we'll see those people at mics every now and then who they're the funny friend, and they make everybody laugh, but they get on stage and it's not the same thing,
right?
So like I think that is a good point too, like your ability to take those stories and put them on stage and do well with them shows obviously like your ability as well.
Yeah. It's, I mean, you got to present it different. You know how like what I noticed with people that think, I was the funny friend, but it's like so inside shop talk. You know what I mean? The way they say it. Oh, and it's like you got to pull out all those references in general. You know, like it's a writing
have
process.
inside jokes.
Right?
You're telling them.
No, man.
No, not at all.
Yeah. You got your one friend in the back going, ha! And everybody else is like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah. But I mean, I was just thinking, so this last summer, I went to my 20-year class reunion, and 21 technically, and I was like, you heard me make jokes about it, but I didn't really want to go, but a couple people that are not living in Omaha anymore messaged me, and I was like, and they were cool, you know?
Right.
So I went or whatever, but I just found it funny to me, like how I wasn't a good kid, but I was a quiet kid. You know, I blended in well, and I just kind of, you know, kept a low profile. And how some of these women that I went to high school with were like, I can't believe you do comedy and blah, 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 because I was such a quiet, shy kid, whatever, right? My lab partner in chemistry in high school, he was the salutatorian of our class, like the second, like from the valedictorian, he was the second or whatever. And literally, like I told him, I'm like, you're the only reason I got through chemistry. Like I was so lost, you know what I mean? Like, and he was like all-American football, but he was cool, like, but football player, all that stuff. But he's like, what have you been up to or whatever? I told him a few things. I said, I've been doing stand-up comedy too. And he said, like, after all these other people are like, I can't believe you're doing it. He's like, yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. And he talked about how, like, there'd be a party or whatever, group of people, even at school. And I was almost just waiting to pounce. I was quiet, but, like, when it was there, it was a boom, you know?
Yeah.
And that's probably the makings of a comic there.
For sure. Yeah. When you seek out the opportunity to make people laugh. Yeah. I was talking with one of our local comic friends recently about that, like, having that personality type. I also kind of share that with you, where if I meet a random person, like, you know how you have these interactions with people. For example, I walk out of this building right now, I open the door, thank you, you're welcome, and that's the end of the conversation. Yeah. But if the person carries the conversation on a little bit longer, my brain instance is like, okay, like, let's make this person laugh. Like, that's what we're gonna do right now. You know what I mean? And, like, it almost becomes, at least in my mind, it becomes like a game of like, let's see, like, this person looks really serious, say I make them laugh. Like, today, I went to a job interview. Yeah. And the guy who was interviewing me was fairly intimidating. He was a nice guy, but he was, like, assertive, you know, he was just the boss. Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna try to make this guy laugh, like, in the interview, and I succeeded, but it was just like, it's like extremely unnecessary. You know what I mean? But it's just one of those things that, like, that's just like the personality type. Yeah.
I always laugh about this. I've told this to people before, but when I was first in AA, right? This old timer, this guy that's been in the AA program for years, pulled me aside after a meeting. So I was 23 years old. This is 14 years before I did my first comedy open mic. And he's like, can I tell you something? I noticed when you're sharing, you kind of, like, pause and try to read the room and wait for a laugh. And I'm like, I just didn't know what I was yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And I've joked, I'm like, I've always joked, I'm like, if it starts getting too stagnant and stale, I'll just go back to AA to get laughs again.
It's like, well, I'll just ruin my life all over, and then I'll get some laughs.
Or just go back to the.
You can go back to AA without having to start drinking again.
Yeah. What's the fun in that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I go back, I want to do it right.
Let's do it full train wreck style.
Exactly.
I'm gonna have a judge send me. You know, you gotta do.
You don't want to be a sponsor. You want to need a sponsor. That's funny, man. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Have you been doing all of your comedy here in Omaha your whole career?
Well, yeah. Other than, like, going out of town once in a while. I mean, I've done Des Moines shows, Sioux Falls.
So born and raised Omaha.
Been here since '83 when I was 11. I was born in Alameda, California, on a Navy base.
Oh, nice, cool.
My dad served during Vietnam, but
well, not so nice, but okay.
And I always joke, like, to get street cred. I'm like, I'm from Oakland, California. But it's Alameda. It's a suburb.
Straight out of Alameda.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's cool, man. That's really interesting. Yeah, I wish. It's tough. It's nice being able to talk to people for a longer period of time and, like, be able to just ask questions, because I have friends even right now that I've known since I started doing comedy that these exact questions that I'm just asking you, I have no idea what the answers would be to them. You know what I mean? Because you just see each other between mics and like sometimes on shows and stuff, and you don't hang out a ton with other people usually outside of the scene, which is something that I know Brent and I have talked about that we want to at least try to do a little bit more, because like that's most of the fun is like just hanging out with comics and talking, and you know what I mean, like which is later we're gonna have a little bit of a get together, and that's gonna be fun, man. Like it's I'm excited about that. So
and that's kind of and the stories that come out of stuff, like or just like the random stuff maybe during it's always the sidebar stuff I feel like at shows that's kind of funny to tell, amongst comics,
right?
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it's almost like that hang in the back of the room while open mic is going on. Yeah. And you got just like 6 or 7 comedians back there just chopping it up. That hang is hilarious. Like that, you're always rolling. You're almost like too loud because you're cracking up with your group of friends while somebody else is trying to be on stage.
Yeah, I remember one night, and I can't remember his name, but he was a dude that was kind of trying to run some show. He was more of a music guy here in town, but was tied in to the comedy scene, trying to get some comedy stuff going and stuff. But me and like Bill Queen and a few other people were on a show for this dude in Missouri Valley, and it was weird. It was a weird show or whatever, but it was an outdoor show at this hole-in-the-wall bar in Missouri Valley, and out by the alley, some people were smoking a joint that some guy that looked pretty rough, and anyway, Danny, I think
it might
Danny
have been a joint
Whitman
of crack.
is his
You
name,
never know.
Sorry, Danny, I'm telling you. Or anyways, but this metalhead dude that was doing the show, he was so just mortified at like he wasn't gonna touch that joint. He's like, and he leaned to, he's like, I can't get over that guy. Bill sharing that joint with that toothless dude, because the dude had hardly any.
Bill Queen is down, bro. He's down for the hang.
Yeah. So
that's hilarious. Yeah, man. You run into some crazy stuff. Yeah. We haven't. I mean, me personally, I guess, haven't been in doing comedy that long, but in like the time that I've already had, every time I go out, we were just talking about this yesterday. Like when you go out and you're not feeling it. You're not feeling like maybe like it's an off night, or you're just not feeling like talking, going out, getting on stage, but you're there already. So you're like, fuck it, I'm already here. Let's go. Yeah. You do it. Either Brent was saying, he's like, you either have a really good set, or like the hang is really good, or you work out a new joke somehow. Like there's always like that. There's always that going on. So it's nice.
Yeah, that always happens to me. I'll get out and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be on stage. I don't want to talk to any of these people. Fuck, but I'm here. And then all of a sudden, like, in 10 seconds, I'm in such a better mood. Like, I'll get on stage, that's fine. And then, it usually either goes really well, or like I think of a new tag. Or like it's weird how that works when your brain's like, I don't want to do this, and then you end up doing it anyway, and everything just changes.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I guess I wanted to ask you also, as far as writing, what's your usual process, or do you have a process, or do you just kind of wing it?
What I do is I bring premises, like a lot of people. I just bring. First off, I scratch down just any idea that comes to me. I try to scratch down somewhere, and get. I've got piles of paper. But then I'll try to run a premise at a mic and then tweak it at the next mic, and I don't do a lot of writing it the whole bit out, because I my set lists are tag words,
right?
But sometimes I'll write extra tag words under. Anyway, but that's kind of
just like your separate punchlines throughout it. Like that's the line. That's the line.
If I already got a chunk off the top of my head, and by chunk, you know what I mean. But like,
right,
not a quick joke. But that's kind of how I do it. So
that's interesting. Yeah, I think everybody has their own style that they like to do. I enjoy writing stuff out because I don't remember who it was, and I feel bad because I'm not going to give them credit, but somebody recommended to me that I write them out word for word.
Yeah.
And not so that I could read them for word, but because when you write out your bit or anything, when you're writing anything, you're thinking about it as you're writing it down by hand.
Yeah.
So what happens is, at least for me, is I'll be writing it, and since I'm thinking about it, it helps me come up with taglines or a little another joke or another bit related, or maybe just add on, be able to like elaborate a little bit and lengthen it a little bit. And I found that very useful when I have a bit that, like, for example, I have this one that I've been working on that I've been doing at shows recently. If I have to do like a 10-minute set, and it's kind of already done, right? It's like it's where it's at. It's at a good place. I'm happy with it. But every now and then I'll sit down and I'll write it out, and I have the same set written out like 6 times. Yeah. For that reason, because I feel like I'll actually, every time I write it out, I kind of get a new tag for something, or maybe I don't, but I just for the habit of writing it. But a few times it's helped where I'll be able to come up with something different, just from writing it word for word.
And I have like written and typed out. Like I was starting a folder on my computer screen with like typed out versions of jokes that I felt were polished or whatever. But then I was like, well, if they're polished, why am I typing these out? They're polished. Like I know, you know what I mean? Like it's in here already. But there's a tag that I keep forgetting coming back post-pandemic. Like that's what's funny to me is like I thought there was polished jokes obviously before I came back, and there's tags on certain jokes I keep forgetting. I'm like that really ups that joke, you know, and I keep forgetting to put that tag on there. I'm like, that's where I'm missing it, you know.
Yep.
And not that the rhythm always goes exactly the way, but I have a few. You'll have them after a while where they do. Like it's a cadence, and you know where it's gonna punch on the audience.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's dope, man. That's interesting. What's the longest set you've had to do?
30. I've done 30 a few times. I haven't pushed. I feel like my sweet spot right now is 15 to 20, but I can do 30 without sweating it too much. And it's funny because you hit those marks and you think like 45 sounds insanely long to me, but it's just like more intimidating than like, I probably have 15 minutes more.
You could add,
right.
I just don't think it's all that solid, you know. Like
that's the hard part is like, you know, do I have 30 minutes? Probably, if I do all my bits that work most of the time, but also like, how many 5-minute bits do I have that are probably 3 minutes? You know what I mean? Sure. They're just there's too many extra words. There's too much stuff in them, right? So, you know, now I'm going to make an audience listen to 30 minutes of jokes that they're only going to laugh at for 10 of those minutes.
Right.
30 minutes of, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Right.
You got it. Yeah. That's a bad habit I have. I caught myself doing it on stage last night, and I was so pissed off at myself. I always say right. So I'll say something to the audience, and I'll be setting up a punchline. So I was out in Denver, right? And I'll say it's almost like my
Yeah.
You know? And I got off stage and I was so pissed off about it, but I just can't figure out how to
I
stop
say
that one.
know what I mean too much.
I do too.
Don Seeger pointed it out to me one time.
Yeah, fuck that guy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have those things, though. I say the word like a lot. Yeah. In the middle of explaining it, it's like I was born in California. I use it way too much. So now I'm a little bit more conscious of it. Although I do think on stage it's not as much. It's more in conversation when I'm like talking fast and trying to get through something. Yeah. I'll use it too much. But yeah.
You've gotten way better at it since
it's like it's in my head.
The first episode of our podcast, I missed him pretty hard.
These assholes, dude. It was him and Zach Bravietti. We're sitting here, and whoever's watching this right now, you guys can go back and watch it by now. But I'm sitting there like talking about something serious. Like I'm like explaining something the way I feel about something in like a serious tone. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of a sentence, and Brett's like, "Yeah, so you born in California or like you grew up there? Like, what's the deal, man?" I'm like, "You guys suck." No, but I mean, there's like things you gotta like check, right? Like you have to one of those things that you have to keep bettering yourself at.
I had to do a video today for a job lead, right? They wanted a 2-minute video why I would be a good fit for the job, and I shot this thing 5 times. You know, and it was like 2 minutes, but I was like, realized, see, I just did it. That's the other one. I had so many uhs in this video because I was nervous doing and I mean, it was almost like the Barack Obama, you know. So if I don't get it on there and kind of like my stage presence, it's coming back to us. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, but like I have to harness some of that nervous energy up there. Otherwise, it's both nerves,
right?
Know? So I might as well do you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like as
The
comics,
fast,
I
you
feel like sometimes on stage we're afraid of silence.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
because obviously, yes, the goal is to get laughter, right? Like, obviously, you don't want silence. But I mean in the sense of if you're setting something up, you can pause.
Yeah.
And you don't have to fill that space with something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get work. I'm still working on being okay with that silence, you know, during.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One
for
of the things
sure.
I struggled so much with is when I first started was how fast I would talk.
Yeah.
Like I would get on stage and my jokes would just come out like was super fast.
Yeah.
And then I almost overcorrected.
Yeah.
And I drew it out way too long. So it's fucking hard. It's hard to find that sweet spot.
I'll do this thing when I'm nervous where I'll start talking, right? I'll be doing my bit, and I keep breathing in, and I'll do my bit, and I keep breathing in again, and I'll do my bit, and I'll breathe in again until where I'm like, oh, I can't breathe, but I'm like, no, I'm not breathing out. I'm gonna die one day.
Gotta
I'm
exhale,
gonna
bro.
pass out. Yeah, I'm gonna pass out on stage
Exhale.
in the middle of a punchline.
I won't do CPR.
Good.
I know how, but I won't do it.
One thing you pick up on that pause too eventually is if you muscle through your material too fast and you hear that punch, like sometimes if it's a good joke, right, you need to let that. And I mean, and then once I started recognizing that, I don't know if I won this one, but like I tell new comics, man, go do that clash just because it's a fun room. You know, get video out there, like
Right.
you know, like if you've got solid material, just go do your solid 5. If you think you got a solid 5, you know, and that was the first place that I had the double wave, is what I call it, like the laugh. You think it's coming back, and I hung on it. I was like, and then it was a double wave of double,
Yeah.
you know, like another roar, and then
Yeah.
and I was like, and that's the biggest rush in the world.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
You know,
That was the most recent one, right?
no,
Or no?
this was like probably a couple. I don't know. I don't remember specifically. I just which show it was. I just
Right.
remember feeling that the first time.
Oh, gotcha. I remember you killed on the most recent one, the most recent clash.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was a really good
That
night.
was a really good
And
set.
I'm not, anyone that knows me, I'm not super cocky at all, or like, you know, or whatever. And I came off the stage and I looked at Daisy. I'm like, fuck, I'm good. That's what I said to her. I go, fuck, I'm good.
You know, I love seeing that. You know, there's a obviously a fine line between cocky and confident, and how you carry yourself and arrogance and stuff like that. But I love when I see like my buddies, like you get off stage and you're like, fucking, I crushed that.
Yeah,
because we're all so hard on ourselves all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, how many sets do we get off stage that we did well on, and we get off stage and we're like fucking pissed off because we missed a tag or we missed that,
Yeah.
right? So like to see that same guy that's like fucking beating himself up get off stage and be like, I owned that shit. That was
Yeah.
that. I love seeing that.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
My thing is too, and I'd rather be that guy though. That, and I'm getting better with self-doubt across the board, like I said, but like in all areas. But I'd rather be that dude that's a little like self-doubting than the guy that's so delusional, thinks he crushes. I crush all the time.
I've crushed every mic I've ever done.
It's every set's a brand new set and blah blah. Like keep and if they're that deluded, they'll keep doing it and not ever know, and that's fine.
Yeah,
I
man.
guess,
You know what though, dude? There is something to be said for those people though.
yeah.
Because
God love you, man.
because when you don't have that sense, so we all have that sense of like, oh shit, I'm bombing right now.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, your confidence is gonna be through the roof. Like you're gonna be bombing, but like you're gonna be up there with decent stage presence. You're gonna do okay, and then I think there is something to be said about doing it for so long that you eventually get good at something. Like even if you're not naturally good at it. So I think like those people, I think eventually will be decent because they've just been doing it so long. They don't know that they're bombing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
If they don't get murdered by the rest of the comics first.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. We get it. You crushed. We get it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's tough, man. That's one thing that we talked about last time too, is about that term goes around pretty easily. I feel like
Yeah, sometimes
crush or
some
killing.
people throw that word around liberally.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's like,
oh, I
well,
killed, I murdered. I'm like,
People laugh. You're
right,
right. People laugh.
like I don't have a problem with saying like, oh, that bit crushed. Like if you have like a bit in your joke that like killed, okay, yes, you can. There's no problem with it. Actually, Also, to be clear, I don't have a problem with any of it. Do whatever the fuck you wanted to say. You know what I mean? But like, what we're talking about is, for example, when people use that term a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe one of your jokes did really well, but I think it's a rare, not rare, but it is a special thing for you to say that you crushed something, because that means like wall to wall, beginning to end, you did very well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not always the case. You know what I mean?
And you're right. That Clash set you saw, I fucking crushed it.
You
did.
did.
That
100,
was so good.
that's one of those ones where I was like, oh, he murdered. Like, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, there's been other shows, and I don't think like when you're up there, I don't know how you guys perceive it. I don't think while we're in that up there in it, I don't think we always have an accurate perception of what's really going on either end. We're just trying to like hit those rhythms and hear it or whatever.
I've never been on that stage at the Funny Bone, so I'm curious to see can you see people? Can you see the people?
Sometimes, but those
Or like how far back can you see?
Kind of just depends on how. Have you ever noticed I pace and walk a
Yes.
little bit? Like part of that is to try to get a read on people. If you hit a certain, the lights in your face and it's hard to, but you can see the people right in front of you, and you can get out and see the other, But back on that second deck, you're not really seeing faces too much.
Yeah, because that's the other thing too. Is like it's nice. Sometimes it's nice being able to see faces, just because you can tell if people are at least paying attention to you. Because like you've been in rooms before, right, where you come in with the right energy and you come in with the right material. You're doing a good job of delivering your material, but for whatever reason, at least in the beginning of your set, people are not paying attention. Like you're talking through people talking, and you've got to find a way to kind of get people's attention, maintain your energy without letting that affect you, so that people can realize, hey, I'm in charge of this room right now. Look over here.
Right.
And I feel like it's easier to do that when you can see faces, because if it's just dark and you're just hearing people talk, you're like, okay, where am I? Am I in a library right now? You know what I mean? It's like hard to gauge a little bit, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like backline, for me at least, at the backline, one of the local spots we go to, dude, I have glasses, and I work construction, so my glasses are wrecked. Like, they're very scratched. Yeah. So when I go to the backline, I literally can't see anything. I'm 100% blind. Like, somebody could come up and punch me in the face, and I wouldn't know till they were right there in front of me, because I can't see a thing because of the lights and everything.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get punched in the face next Wednesday.
That's fine. Hey, man, all for a laugh.
I wish, so it's hard to describe it, but Barley Street, did you ever?
I did. So when I came out here for my job interview back in 2019, I hit Barley Street a few times while I was out here.
So did you ever? So the way the lights were, depending on what color they were, that kind of. But it was a dark room, so you weren't. I mean, past the first couple rows of tables, you couldn't see everyone, and sometimes that room would pack out.
Yeah,
right.
And it was a tiny room, but like it would get dark real quick.
Yep.
And I've seen certain comedians that really. And in that room, I just learned to deal with it. And I loved. I mean, there was nights where an open mic was like some of the most rewarding times. But anyway, I'd see certain comics like try to get below the lights and like get over to like the extreme left side of the stage, ducking down on me. He might as well just crouched on the stage to look at people in the face. It's like. You're being obvious. Yeah. But I'm being critical,
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I wish I would have gone there. So when I first decided I was going to do comedy, that was the place to go, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Like even on the Google reviews, they had very like, they talked about the comedy nights there on the Google reviews. And I was like, okay, that's where I'm going to go. And then I just didn't go. Yeah. I just like put it off for 6 months, and then I didn't go. And then by the time I started coming around, it was closed.
Yeah.
Such a bummer. But yeah, man, that's interesting.
It had quite a run.
Do you remember your first time on stage?
Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned it earlier, right?
Like he told us a whole story about it,
But
bro.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
But yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That was that was technically not my first open mic, but
First one that you remember.
no, I tried reading Poetry.
Oh no.
Yes. I can see
in the-
Tony Geist sitting there at a poetry slam.
In the 90s, late 90s or early 2000s.
Did you get tons of puss or what?
No.
That's why he was going to the
I
poetry
am
slam.
confused as to why you would do that. No, well, dude, I have friends from high school that are like hippies, and they're all about poetry, but they get tons of liberal puss because that's
I think that was
the
like,
goal is.
I think my end goal was that, but I was like, probably this isn't
For sure.
This isn't my thing.
That's interesting. Yeah, I won't talk too much shit. I also did poetry when I was in high school. No, middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And I'm not like the slam poets that are really good at it. I mean, it's a legit art form. But
For sure.
I'm not. Yeah.
not us.
I'm a comedian.
Yes.
That's
100%. Yeah, man. So, have you looked into at all to the mics down in Nashville, like which ones you're gonna hit or when they're happening? I guess how many are there? Do you know?
No, I haven't yet because I've been focusing mostly on
Figuring situation to be able to go.
like packing and putting the feelers out on jobs and all that.
Right,
and,
getting the car worked out now that
car
that shit
and,
happened. Yeah.
all that, getting logistics done. But yeah, I mean, I plan on hitting the ground running, but
It's got to be more. Man, it's got to be more than here.
I would
more,
think so. I
There's
mean,
got to be more
Nashville's
mics.
a big,
Yeah, Nashville's a pretty big city too.
I feel like Nashville too. Although my only worry would be that they might have more music mics than anything. Because
for
it's
sure,
a music
for
city.
sure.
Yeah.
But,
You know what I mean?
but I mean, when I was in that, for lack of a better word, sabbatical in those 5 years, I mean, I still read about comedy and different things and stuff. And I want to say somewhere around like 2013, I just remember reading an article saying that Nashville was up and coming in comedy too.
Yeah, I read an article the other day on Facebook. Actually, John Snyder was asking. He's talking about wanting to move and stuff like that every once in a while. We were looking at it, and I think Nashville is ranked in like the top 15 or top 10 cities for comedy right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think anywhere there is a music, like an overall arts scene or music, especially like Austin has a hella music scene too. You know?
And when I was down there, their comedy scene is popping off. I was down there over Christmas, and I had 4 or 5 mics while I was down there. And they've got 3 or 4 mics every night of the week.
Yeah.
Even on Sundays, it's crazy.
Yeah, I met a few years ago. I met here. There was some comics from Atlanta visiting, and they're like, "So, how many mics do you guys hit in a week?" And we said, I said, if you do just comedy mics, 2 or 3, and then some mixed open mics like that one at Down Under, you can hit 4 or 5. And I said, then the shows are on the weekends. And these Atlanta guys are like, what? You can hit 2 or 3 a night in Atlanta? I'm like, yeah, but it's Atlanta, man. This is Omaha.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it'd be nice if there's enough people here. Me and Brent were talking about this last time. I think there's enough people here to do 2 mics a night. I think if we had like one at 7:30, another one at 8:30 or 9, I think we could do 2 mics a night.
I think, if the scene grows for sure. Like, and I'm not saying, like you said, there's a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that aren't super active. I mean, there's some people do comedy for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
Right, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and there's also people that don't like open mics.
Right.
Like, I don't think anybody loves open mics. You know what I mean? But like, would you prefer doing a show? 100%. But there's people who just straight up don't like them because they don't like that dynamic of, well, you're in a bar and you're trying to make these people that don't give a fuck about you laugh. But I think there's like some value to that because I think, you know what I mean? Like, those people aren't there to laugh and you make them laugh. You're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's just something to say about like you can only stand in the mirror and tell yourself a joke. It's hard to nail something down the way you want to do it with the energy you want to do it in if there's nobody in front of you. Like even 3 comics in front of me is better than me standing in my bathroom trying to fucking tell a joke to myself. Yeah. And of course I think it's funny. I thought of it. Like I'm gonna laugh.
And I mean, you guys know this already, but there's booked quote unquote shows that might as well be a mic because they're a bar show. But bar shows are the best. I'd rather have that little buzz of noise in the background too than too silent, because that's like we said, the silence. At least through that, if I can, and also if it's kind of bar where you can see the people up close are engaged. So like when I did this show in Sioux Falls, and it was a noisy ass bar, but it was a big room, but like it was one of the funnest shows ever, because I could tell and I could feel the energy. I don't know how to explain it, because I couldn't hear it, but I could tell. I'm doing pretty good up here.
Yeah.
About 7 rows deep of tables up towards the stage, right? And this was a combo comedians and burlesque dancers.
Okay.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's something about, I think you're right. There's something about that little bit of noise that you hear here and there, and like a little bit of, that like vibe that's there. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because that is true. But it's interesting how that works, because if it's any more than that, it's distracting. Like if you have, it can be just regular background noise, but if somebody's talking a little bit louder than they should be, it's cutting through.
Absolutely.
It's cutting right through.
It's so weird, because I did one on New Year's Eve. I did a show at Storm Cellar New Year's Eve, and I'd say there was probably 20 to 25 people there for the most part. And they were laughing and stuff. There was one annoying ass booth of probably 60 years old or something, but they
16 or 60?
60.
60.
Like middle-aged, older than me, I think.
What are we doing out?
Huh?
What are we doing out?
Why are you not go to bed?
Yeah. It was an early show too. It was New Year's Eve, about 7, right? But it was about 5 of them around my age or older, right? Drunk, loud, in this booth. And you know the booth I'm talking about, like, it's a Storm
It's a
Cellar.
little one that's like that.
That one that's off, like to the left.
Right in the center.
almost. Yeah.
It's a
Just
little L-shaped.
killing the vibe, man, because, I mean, like, other people were trying to hear these.
No, bro. No, you know what'll kill your vibe at Storm Cellar? When somebody drops $1 in that pool table, and just click, clack, bang. It just drops all the pool balls. That's so funny to me.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Ben, but they were, so I heard them talking during everybody's set, and I was last up, and one of them, I heard her go, I like this guy or something. She was drunk as shit, and I go, oh, did someone say they liked me? And she stood on the booth. She stood up, and she's looking at me. She's like, I did. I said, oh, thank you. Could you please shut the fuck up? And I did it nice. I'm like, I'm kidding. It's nothing but love. But please, come on, please.
I'm
I was gonna say, did they?
No,
not at all.
I tried.
That's the problem with drunk people. It's like you want to be mean, you want to light them up, right? You want to like roast them or make fun of them, but they're drunk. So like if you do that, they're like, oh, I get to participate more, and they
This just turned into an improv
yeah,
show.
exactly.
Well, and there's a balance too. I think like it sometimes you can lose a whole audience if you go too hard on someone in the wrong way.
Yeah, they're like, oh, why you be like?
Yeah.
It didn't deserve that. Yeah,
you don't want to walk anybody for sure.
The first time I knew I was hitting my stride on, because I mean, like a lot of comics, when I started out, man, it took me a while too to like, if there was hecklers or anything, like I just muscled through, and they were just I put blinders.
You
on
didn't
almost.
acknowledge them.
Mm-hmm.
No. And then one night, after I was getting more comfortable at the Down Under. Have you guys tried the Down Under?
Yes, sir.
I haven't yet. I need to.
Okay, it's chaos.
100%.
It can be chaos.
It can also be empty.
Yeah.
Because every time I've done it, I've performed for Ben and for the bartender.
Yeah. It can be
That's it.
empty or absolute chaos, and once in a while, you can make magic happen
Yeah,
there, right?
that's what I've heard.
And
Want to prove it to myself. But
yeah. And one night, I mean, once you do,
yeah.
you feel it. But I got a tag. That's what I was talking about. I keep forgetting to put these tags on. I have that bit where I talk about a lot of people told me it kind of looked like Robert Downey Jr. And then I tag that joke. At some point, when I really do the whole thing, I'm like, not a bad doppelganger, right? For you, those of you that don't know what doppelganger means, it's a word of Scandinavian origin, means semi-fuckable middle-aged fella.
Yeah, I've heard you do that tag before.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing that, and this dude across the room, real drunk, I'm assuming, he's like, no, it isn't. Or something. I go, what? He goes, that's not what that word means. And I'm like standing there, and I go, no shit, dude, I'm doing jokes. And then all of a sudden, the people up front were on my side, and I just kept going. And after, we had a little banter because he's like, I'm sorry, I read an article and it really messed me up and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, go get therapy. I said that too. I'm like, I think you need therapy. But
Yeah. Like, he had read an article and he heard that word, like, this is my time.
I don't know.
This is the perfect opportunity.
That's not what that word means.
Oh, my goodness.
I was just reading the dictionary, and I happened to be in the D section, and I know that's not what that means.
That's right. Oh, man. People are interesting, man. Yeah. I've learned, I had this one experience. I am similar to that. I'm still very new at it. So when there are people that are being loud, I either will not acknowledge them or I'm going to try to roast them. Yeah. Even though I know that's a bad idea. Like, even though I'm like, you should probably just, you can try to, sometimes you can roast them just like lightly and be like, tell them to be quiet and they'll get the message. But I remember the best thing I've ever done with a drunk person was we had this table at Dubliner one time, and it was probably like 8 people at this table, and they were all drunk. Yeah. Right. And they kept being a little bit disruptive. They were enjoying the show and they were listening, but they were like shouting out a little bit, or sometimes they would just start talking amongst themselves and they were a little bit loud. And I saw a couple people went up and they had a tough set because these guys were just talking amongst themselves. They weren't listening to whoever was on stage. And then they just kind of like didn't acknowledge them, but they were like kind of like looking over at them every time and like not saying anything, but just doing their bits still, and just kind of like uncomfortably looking over. And in my head, I was like, I have to say something. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do that. Yeah. So I went up, and there was just a big group of, like, large white dudes. And I don't mean, like, fat. I mean, like, 6'4", 250, like, big dudes that clearly played football. You know what I mean? And so I just went up, and I'm like, before I even started, I'm like, I fist bumped one dude right before I went up, so I kind of, like, got his attention. Yeah. And then he kind of watched me as I went up, and they were way louder than the other side of the room. Yeah. So I talked to the quiet side of the room. I was like, hey, the cast from the show Vikings is killing you guys on energy. and they loved it. That quiet side liked it. These guys, obviously, they liked it because I'm like making fun of them. Yeah. And they all turned and they just watched me do my set, and they laughed and they had a good time. Yeah. But I was able to like kind of get their attention, get their energy that they were already using on themselves, and kind of like, hey man, pay attention to me for a while. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it worked out.
Yeah, and that's I still have hard times dealing with that sometimes.
My favorite one that I've seen is wasn't even one of us that shut a heckler down. It was the same thing. It was at the Dubliner in that booth, that single booth that's back by where you walk in. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, in the back by the bathroom.
Yeah, there's this table full of girls and this table full of it was girls and a couple of guys, and they were being loud, obnoxious.
I think they were they were college students.
Yeah, probably. And it was a night that it was just a mic. But we had a solid lineup. Everybody was doing fire stuff. And there was a good crowd in there. Like a bunch of people that were just hanging out and watching. Yeah. And there was this old guy sitting next to me. And you were sitting with me. You probably saw this happen. You know which one I started talking.
Yeah, so before that happened, sorry, go ahead. Tell the story. Yes, I was sitting right next to you.
So they keep being loud and loud. And this old guy finally gets up, turns around and walks over to him. Is like, hey, shut the fuck up. Some of us are trying to watch this. Be quiet. And he turns around and sits back down. Nice. And I'm just like, yeah. Fist bump that guy.
It was an audience member. And I think it was kind of my fault that he went over there to talk to them. Because so what I will do, if somebody is being loud in the audience, and I'm in the audience, and I'm trying to watch some comedy, and people are talking, I'll chime into their conversation and be like, hey, let's not talk about that right now, though. Like I'll just like get into their conversation to make it clear, like, hey, you're loud enough where I'm over here and I can hear you. You know what I mean? Like, let's be quiet. So they're talking, and one of the girls goes, she's like, oh, we have to talk about Megan's birthday party. And I'm like, dude, they're in the back booth. I'm 2 tables down, and I turn around and I out loud, I'm like, no, let's not talk about Megan's birthday party right now. I'm like, that's a terrible idea. And they all just kind of looked at me, and then the guy like heard me say that, and he like shook his head and he got up and he went to go tell him to shut up. Yeah. So I was like, oh, my bad. I was like,
it was great.
But it was awesome.
And they did too.
Oh, 100%. Awesome. Yeah, they were like,
awesome.
Whoops.
That's the way to do it.
But yeah, man, that's interesting.
I lost my shit out at a show in Bennington one night, and the only people I got laughing were all the comics on the side wings, Because I watched another night, watched comics go up one after the next, and if there wasn't this one group of people, and so these comics muscling past this group of, and I think that a couple of comics even tried to address them and stuff, and I think I was like second or third from the last, and I dropped the mic down to about my stomach. It was like, and yelled, "Would you shut the fuck up? Shut the fuck up, please! God damn, you know."
That a Bill Burr moment.
Oh yeah. But I'm not as good as Bill Burr. I couldn't keep it going because then I didn't commit, man, and I like reeled back in. I'm like, I'm sorry, you guys.
If you want, if you want to be quiet, it's cool. Like,
pussed out, man. I'm sorry, you guys. I've had a rough week. I'm just working through some stuff. Like that's my go-to excuse. It's like,
I'm gonna kill myself. Be quiet. Like, oh man, that's funny.
Jason Regan and Mark Sibbett and all them were just cracking up.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. That's funny. Yeah, no, I haven't had one of those yet. I'm sure that will happen though.
You gotta have a meltdown at some point.
For sure. Yeah, that's how you get good.
Yeah.
You have a few of them in a row.
Yeah, you just gotta. Well, and you also gotta make sure that you don't have like a meltdown where you say some shit you shouldn't be saying. Like, who's that dude?
Kramer.
Kramer from Seinfeld.
You know what? I can get away with it. I'll be fine. If I drop a couple of N-bombs, I'd be all right.
Yeah. I would not be.
It's okay. I won't tell anybody.
We're just sitting in this room, and you're like, "It's okay. You can say it."
Yeah, you can say it. I
You can
promise.
say it. And then I
That
do,
camera's
the
not on.
The camera's
It's not on.
It's
That red light
fine.
doesn't mean
It's
anything.
fine.
I want to get better at playing off those weird things. So, like, I had one heckler render me speechless because I knew where her mind was after she asked what she asked. I'm like, I don't want to go into this territory with this racist bitch right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I
She was like setting you up.
yeah. Well, it was just so weird because I figured out later, like, because you think it over, like, where was she coming from? And it was a religious joke, and I don't remember which one, but religious, it's Christianity, you know, but
Right.
I wasn't setting up a debate of Islam versus Christianity. It was just a joke about Christianity, and she said this. She goes, "You got any Arab jokes?" I go, "What?" She's like, "You got any jokes about Arabs?" And I go, "No."
Do you?
I'm like, no. You know, and I didn't know what else to do with that. I'm like, no, I don't. You know, and just moved on. But I wish I could have came up with.
I had an Arab
Yeah.
joke, but it bombed too many times, so I dropped it.
Damn it.
Yeah, right. But I got what she was.
Shout out John
if you're gonna rail on Christianity, like I thought about later, she's probably thinking if you're gonna rail on Christianity,
Yeah,
you
she
should
wanted
rail
to-
on Islam. It's like whatever. That's not what I'm talking about.
It's like, hey, man, they don't need to be railed on, bro. They're not going to heaven.
Yeah, they call those Bible humpers,
personally,
right?
I don't buy it. You know, like I have my own take on it. Like any of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny, man. Yeah, I haven't had a meltdown yet. I'm excited to see it, to wait for it to happen. It's going to
Hey,
be a good
you
time.
think, you know what? Just sorry, a side note. You think that could be like a new porn genre, Bible humpers? And it's just
Bible
like
humpers.
It's just girls dressed up like nuns with a dildo stuck to a Bible, screaming, "Oh Jesus!"
Well, if hell exists,
Holla at your boy.
it's a one-way ticket.
Bro, all my friends are gonna be there. I wouldn't have any fun in heaven anyway.
Bible humper, huh?
That's hilarious.
That's, you know what? That's a sketch idea right there.
What's it's anointment. I don't know.
Oh, no. Get the fuck out of here. You guys are disgusting.
Oh my god! So I can't remember the guy's name. I can't, but I'm gonna give him credit. We were at the improv show last Friday, and I was hanging out in the back, and we were all warming up. It was me and Rachel, and then this other guy. I can't remember his name. He was awesome, and they were doing this thing where they would sing back and forth to each other, and it got like very overtly sexual real quick, like talking about like, "Oh, put it in my ass," and then his line was, "I baptized you from the inside." Wow! And I was like, "That's so awesome."
That's hilarious.
That's such a funny thing to say.
Oh, goodness. That's
I
so funny.
baptized you from the inside with my holy water.
God. I was curious. You said I was kind of hung up on that for a second. You were like, we were at an improv show and warming up. I'm like, what are you doing warming up at an improv show? It's not like you're singing. You're like mayo mayo may. Like how do you warm up for improv?
I realize that you've never taken an improv class.
That's fair.
And I have taken one
2
so
now.
far, just one because the last one got canceled. But I'll be at my second one tomorrow.
Yeah, sure
And
you
so
will,
I
bud.
understand how you are such a novice about this kind of stuff. So I'll explain it. I
Okay.
guess.
Please do. Please do, and make it not sound gay.
Rachel's gonna hear that and she's gonna be mad at
Good. She knows I'm right.
you. No, it's just so like they do a lot of word association games and stuff like that back and forth and try to play off of each other, and it's basically just to get
Kinda
your mind
get your shit
yeah
going.
get your mind loosened up.
Get your left brain especially. Like get that.
Connect those connections you make. Get them going
Yeah, I mean,
better.
so you can come up stuff in the moment, but see those connections. I mean, I've done improv too.
Yeah.
but I've gravitated to stand up, obviously.
So I
My
got
bad.
I got to do it. Yeah, you're the only loser that hasn't done it yet.
No, I'm just. It does like I
Don't
think
don't be nice to him.
Yeah.
You don't have to pull back.
Here's what I will say, because I've heard this bullshit and I thought it was so funny and like I get it. Like I mean I'm more prone to pay to go see stand up now too, but someone outside of the Barley Street one night was talking and like, when improv is good, it's really good, but I mean it's good, but when it's bad, it's really bad. Like comparing it to stand up, I'm like, have you ever sat through one of these motherfuckers? Like
you ever
I'm
listened
at
to
an
a whole
open
open
mic. Like, have you sat through it? Like, it's the same shit, man. If you're gonna use that as the barometer,
Yeah, bad is bad.
like when stand up's really bad, it's really bad. Like that's what he was saying, comparing to improv. I'm saying,
Yeah, I don't know about that because
Yeah.
like I think they're
Yeah.
both pretty bad. They can
Yeah.
both be pretty bad.
Yeah.
because you can think of it as like, oh, you have this really funny comedian that you like if you have a professional comic, right? Let's say you go watch fucking Bill Burr and he's
Yeah.
got an off night and he bombs. It's still Bill Burr.
Yeah.
So like Bill Burr bombing is not anywhere near as bad as me bombing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's far worse.
Have you
You know
ever,
what I mean?
have you ever
I
been
am.
so uncomfortable at an open mic that you just put your head down on the table and pretend you're trying to take a nap?
Oh my
There's been a
goodness.
few sets where I'm just like, I don't even want to look around the room. I just like put my head down. I'm just pretending to sleep
yeah.
for a minute.
My
Like,
new
my
move-
stomach hurts from listening to this.
My new move, and people will now know this because I'm saying it, but my move now is I'll stand up for most of the mic so that if something's going bad, I'm already standing, I just walk away. Just leave. I don't leave the place, I'll just walk around. But yeah.
I did have one of the funnier lines I've uttered in a while. I got to go on to that improv show that night with Rachel and her partner Justin, because a bunch of their people canceled because of the snow. She was like, well, you've taken one class, let's just fucking do this. And so I got to do it. I had a ton of fun. It was a blast. But we were doing this scene where like I was a doctor telling a dad, so Justin, that his son was going to die in like 4.5 hours. And then Rachel tags him out and comes in as the child, and I'm still the doctor. And she's like, supposed to be a little boy. She's like, well, can I at least get my Make-A-Wish? And I was like, we're out of time for wishes. We can't make that happen. And then she like starts awkwardly flirting with me. And I'm like, are you flirting with me? And she puts her hand on my shoulder, and I like put my head down and I go, I told myself this wouldn't happen again after I stopped being a priest. In front of like 15 fucking people that had paid to come to improv. And I was like, yes. Let's throw in some Catholic pedophilia.
That's
into this
hilarious.
super wholesome improv show.
Never fails.
I had to fuck a dude, not a dude. I mean,
Well, that's quite the joke.
in the scene, the guy in the scene at one point, yeah, I had to fuck a dude for real. No,
In this scene.
in the scene,
Suck a
but in
dick
the
once.
scene, the dude was
my butt.
my wife. And he laid back. He took it there. He went back on the stage and went spread eagle. So like I stayed standing and just held his ankles and acted like I mean. I don't know if the audience was picturing a huge shaft going down, but I wasn't gonna like grind jeans to jeans on him. Like I'm not
You're not
that
committed to the
comfortable.
bit, bro.
No, I know. I just couldn't.
That's hilarious. I had to fuck a dude
It
once.
got weird.
There's that joke about
That's the title of this episode, by the way.
it got weird.
Geist fucks a dude.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! There's a joke about that where like you remember the nervous game they used to play. Like, did you guys ever play that in school?
Yeah.
With the nervous game where two dudes like put their hand on each other's legs and slowly start moving up.
Hold
and
up.
then whoever stops first.
Wait, hold up. Did you just say two dudes?
Yeah, two dudes, bro.
Not how I
Two
played it.
dudes. Oh, for
Not
sure.
how I
Yeah.
only played it with females. Exclusively.
Why would you ever get nervous with a female?
That's the
You
point.
fucking prude.
That's the point. I don't get nervous. I get my dick touched. That's what I get. You know what I mean? Like that's hilarious. I hope people listening to this also played it with females because that would make it really funny on your
That
behalf.
would make it really funny, but I know for a fact that this joke came from the internet. So
Okay.
I know there's other
Okay.
places that do it.
Okay.
But they're talking about, they're like, oh yeah, me and this other guy played the nervous game.
It's so gay.
And then they're like, it's been 30 years and one of these days one of us is going to give up and we're going to be able to move out of this house together.
Oh yeah.
We've been having anal sex for years.
Yeah, like we adopted a kid. I think this guy's gay. That's funny.
Not
I
that
don't-
there's anything wrong with that. I don't want to get canceled. Don't
if
get
you're-
me canceled.
If you're
Noe.
into that type of thing. Hey man, when I say gay on this podcast, I don't mean gay like Tony fucking a dude. I mean I mean gay like not what I like.
You sound like somebody that says, I'm not racist, but
All right, fuck it, man. I mean gay. That's what I mean. Okay.
No, but that's
Fucking
where
mean.
improv gets weird with the yes and it was a 2-person show, so it was me and this dude Dave, and he decided to play off the suggestion was my wife, and that's the role, and then he took us into the bedroom, and I was like, okay, God damn it.
All right, bro.
so you know what? That's a perfect thing. We should explain it away. The yes and thing.
I
right?
know
Like,
yes and bro.
oh, do you?
Yes,
What's
I
it mean?
do.
What's it mean?
It means you have a premise or an idea of a joke or of a subject, and you say blank blank blank, let's do this, and then you reply. You can only reply with yes and this, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Kinda,
for,
yeah,
for the most
I
part.
mean,
So basically,
it's just
it's
like roll
basically
with
the
it.
rule is if I establish something in the scene, you cannot unestablish it.
Gotcha.
So if I get on stage and say, "Hey Tony, I'm your wife,"
Yeah.
he has to accept. Okay, that's who he is. I can't say, "Oh no, you're not." Like you have to say, "Yeah, you are my wife," and I'm never fucking you. We've
Yeah.
never had sex.
That's how that should have gone.
Yeah.
You fucked up.
Yeah, it doesn't, it wasn't on
But-
point.
but yeah.
You didn't warm up like Brent. That's funny, man. I'm excited to take that class, man. I've heard it compared, and I guess we'll give credit to Rachel, even though somebody tried to steal her quote. But
Tyrell.
yeah. But it's been compared to me as improv for comics is like ballet for football players. You know, like it's gonna make you better, even if it's not like your favorite thing to do. It is a good thing to at least try. And I've always found it. I won't lie. Originally, when I first had the idea, I wasn't super interested. I was like, it seems. I would watch people who were really good at it, especially in high school. Like I went to Omaha South, which was like a performing arts school, and the theater kids would do improv.
Yeah.
And when they were good at it, they were good at it. But like it never seemed super interesting to me, or like it never really called my attention too much. And I was just never even planned on doing it. But then one of our friends, that's a local comic as well, started doing it. And they did a few improv classes, and I could literally watch. It was almost night and day, like his progress. And it's not that he wasn't good; he was good, but he just started getting better out of nowhere.
Yeah, it puts you in that headspace of being in that moment, so.
Yeah. So I definitely want to at least give it a shot, give it a try. If I fail, I fail.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can fail, right?
No.
It's really up to Rachel. So maybe we can fail.
If it's up to Rachel, we're sure.
But yeah,
we're
man.
for sure gonna fail.
Well, I'm like really excited for you, Tony. I'm excited for you, this new journey, dude, that you're gonna have in Nashville.
Yeah.
And the new like scene out there. I'm really, really hyped for you to do well. I know you're gonna kill it. But thanks for coming on, man. Both Brent and I admire you as a friend and as a comic. So thank you for
Same
for
here.
coming
Same
on.
here.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Thanks for coming on. Man, tomorrow it's crazy that like we're hanging out tonight and tomorrow Tony's just gonna be gone. I mean, you're not gonna be dead. You're gonna
I'm gonna
be in Nashville. So
on a dark and lonesome highway. Please don't.
Oh.
No,
You know what'd be hilarious?
I
if
think
Tony-
it's Bad Out of Hell. It needs to be the theme for today, I guess, with Meatloaf passing away today.
Oh,
R.I.P.
goodness.
Big Meatball. Sorry.
Yeah.
what was it that he would?
I didn't see it.
Did
Did they ever? No, I mean, did they ever solve that mystery
of what he wouldn't do?
what he wouldn't do?
What he wouldn't do. But I won't do that. I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that. I don't know. I think maybe she was asking him to be a cuckold.
He was probably asking her to fuck a dude in an improv class.
I mean, he's how old was he? 60 something.
I'm
When he
not
died
sure.
today? I think he was older than that. I think he was in his 80s.
If only we had a computer.
Yeah, I bet he's up there. Oh yeah, he'd have to be like 70s or 80s, huh?
Yeah, here, let's find out. Let's see who can Google faster.
Oh, they changed the goddamn internet password. I'm flying without any Wi-Fi, bro.
Well, so I'm going to win.
Yep,
74.
100%. I forfeit.
74.
You what?
74 years old.
That's wild. That's nuts. Well, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I just kind of derailed that, but thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
I just derailed her.
Yeah.
No, I was setting up this grand ending, and then
I
I
know.
derailed it with meatballs.
I'll give you a nice tee up. Just like not even looking at the ball when I
You
sit
know
there.
what?
And I sacrificed
I will say, okay, I'll say this, and I didn't like make a conscious decision to do this, but I had meatloaf at Hy-Vee for lunch today. I had a Hy-Vee meatloaf dinner for lunch today.
That's right. He's alive in spirit. That's all that
Oh,
matters.
he tasted good.
Yeah, he
Oh.
did. We'll see how he comes out.
Some onions.
That's right. All right, dude. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you for doing it, and you're gonna
Yeah.
fucking do great in Nashville.
Thanks, man.
Keep killing it, man.
Thank you.
All right, till
This
next
has
time.
been the episode. Thank you guys for watching.
Yay.
And follow Tony Geist. Are you on Instagram or anything like that? Or
I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
what's your fucking info so people can look you up?
Tony Geist, Geist. I don't know exactly. I should
All right,
know
that's
that.
fine. Yeah, you
Like,
should.
I gotta start getting better at that
Yeah, you
shit
should
too.
know. It's all right. Well, I'm gonna try to link it in the description of the video. So if you guys want to follow Tony Geist, go follow him on Instagram, Facebook, all of the things. Do it and like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Spotify. We'll have everything up there. So make sure you guys are doing all that. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you guys.
Real
Love
quick,
you guys.
can I say something? Real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah.
If you do look me up by a face, like a search for Tony Geist, there's other Tony Geists out there in the world. And if you find the guy that's like close to my age, that's like a evangelical type, and I'm not knocking him. Hey, sir, whatever. But he has a website called geistforchrist.com. And that's not me. That is not me.
not you.
Okay.
He's winning. You need to do better. he's the superior Geist right now.
I'm not trying to use my. Anyway, that's it. I'm
But
sorry.
yeah.
Keep
No, you're
jumping.
good. You're good. Well, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it.
All right.
And we're out.
Have a good one.